what's up, guys? Coming to you with another What's Next. This is going to be on the now former two-time WBC super middleweight champion at 168, David Benavidez, who's still undefeated. Benavidez, disappointment. He was headlined and main eventing a Showtime card on August 15th where he was going to make the first defense of his second reign as world champion. It was an optional defense against Romer Angulo. And the day before the fight, when he went to weigh in, he came in nearly 3 pounds overweight, and he didn't even try to shed the weight. Got stripped of the title on the scales. Second time he's been stripped of that title. And he still competed as Angulo got compensated for the fact that Benavidez was over. The fight went forward. Angulo was allowed to compete for the vacant world title, but Benavidez showed how good he is. He absolutely dominated Angulo, which I think he would have done if he would have been on weight. But, hey, if he was struggling and he really tried to make the weight, would the fight have been different? I don't know. Angulo's a real comer. He hits hard, and he keeps coming. And he did. But Benavidez broke him down, beat him up, and ended up getting a 10th round TKO win when the referee stepped in and stopped the fight after the punishment that Angulo was taking. So Benavidez stays undefeated. But the big question now is what's next for David Benavidez, the former world champion? Well, there's positives and negatives to take from what happened. The negative, of course, is he lost his world title, and kind of shows you, for the young guy that he is, I think he's 23, that how much discipline does this guy have? You know, I mean, a couple years ago, he tested positive for cocaine and got stripped of his world title because of it. He got lucky enough to, bounce back and get another crack at it. Last year, he got his career best win, beating Anthony Durrell impressively, and also knocking out, even though he hasn't never proven to be a top-end super middleweight, but Jalen Love wasn't a bad fighter, and Benavidez kicked his ass in 2 rounds on the Spence Garcia undercard last year. This guy's got, he had so much going for him, especially since he co-featured that pay-per-view. Then he co-featured the Spence and Sean Porter pay-per-view in September, which was impressive, and beat Anthony Durrell. So, but now he misses weight, and you really have to look at, is this guy, is he committed? Is he really committed? Is he dedicated? We've talked about this before with Gervonta Davis. I think Benavidez is kind of running along the same lines. Is he fully committed to staying in shape and all that kind of stuff? Well, those are the negatives that are going to be looked at Benavidez now. Now, the positives, though, that come from this is, one, he's still undefeated. Impressive performance. But also, now he doesn't have to worry about the obligations to the WBC title that he had. So he was facing Angulo. Next, he would have had to face Avni Yildirim for the world title. So when I heard that, that we're talking, especially since he wants the big showdown with Caleb Plant to unify belts. That was the original plan. We're probably looking at that fight wouldn't have taken place until maybe middle to late next year, because Plant has an optional defense, that he hasn't decided on an opponent yet, but after that would have been Caleb Truax in a mandatory defense, or the winner of Truax and Angulo, that are fighting actually this weekend coming up. So, where does that put Benavidez and Plant? Well, like I said, we were looking at middle to the end of next year for that unification bout. Well, that kind of opens things up now, because Benavidez didn't look like he really wore himself out or injured himself in the win over Angulo. Now that he got stripped of that world title, he doesn't have any mandatory obligations. And even though it's not going to be a unification fight now, all this shit him and Caleb Plant have talked to each other, these two guys could very easily link up and take each other on now for Plant's IBF title. Hey, that works in Plant's favor. He gets his name on the card first. Plant versus Benavidez, because he's the champ. He comes out second. He gets announced second. Hey, that works in his favor. So why not make your next optional defense against David Benavidez? I think if these two guys really want to put their best foot forward at 168, because this division is so good that, and right now it's my number 3 division in boxing, because Canelo's going to end up planting himself at 168. Then you got Callum Smith is there, very good. Danny Jacobs, very good fighter, and Billy Joe Saunders. And now the kicker with all those guys is they're all DAZN fighters right now. 3 of them are with Matchroom, you know, and DAZN, and Canelo's with Golden Boy and DAZN. So how do you draw those guys in unless you take over and become the premier guy coming out of the PBC? And that really is the matchup right here between Plant and Benavidez. The winner of that fight is the IBF champ and is the premier guy coming out of the PBC. That, hey, would Canelo consider David Benavidez? If Benavidez keeps winning and looking good and show that he's disciplined, you know, Canelo might not be able to avoid him, and it's a big fight. Benavidez has fought on big cards, you know, so down the road it could mean him and Canelo, you know, especially if he's holding a world title. So, and with Canelo fighting for the title that he had, most likely next, I mean, why not? It definitely could lead to that. I really think Benavidez and Durrell and Plant need to get this fight done. I think they can, and I think they should. Now, will they is the big question. We'll see. You don't know what Al Heyman and the PBC are going for, but I wouldn't be surprised if this fight gets made and these two guys go at it. So we'll see. You know, if that's the case, other options for Benavidez next are, I don't think he'll get a rematch with Anthony Durrell, even though they're both PBC guys, because there's no title at stake. But other than that, I mean, Lionel Thompson, Benavidez almost fought him back in April. He was being considered. I think Thompson would fight him all day. The question is, does Benavidez want to get that work in while he stays busy ahead of a showdown with him, with Caleb Plant? So, Benavidez needs to look into those things, try to stay busy. I'm hoping to see him back before the end of the year, and I'm hoping it's against Caleb Plant. But if not, I would go against somebody like Lionel Thompson, try to get a Durrell rematch, see what you can do. But that's it. All right, guys, that's what's next on David Benavidez. Hope you enjoyed it. True Boxing. Been hit with the truth.